Was geht ab? Kürzestes Intro ever. Vor kurzem war wieder in Dubai die Made Man Mastermind für eCom Owner auf einem 7- oder 8-stelligen Level. Und ich hatte auch wieder einen Gastauftritt, wo ich über 2024, was passiert in den aktuellen Zeiten, was ist aktuell relevant, all die Themen, die wirklich 8-stellige Founder aktuell interessieren. Ich konnte leider nicht vor Ort sein, deswegen habe ich meine Rede aufgenommen. Es ist zwar auf Englisch, aber ich dachte mir, ich enthalte das den Leuten auf dem Channel hier nicht vor. Das Dokument ist wieder unten angehangen und wenn ihr wollt, könnt ihr es ja auch irgendwie in ChatGPT übersetzen lassen. Der Input ist nach wie vor Gold wert für alle Leute, die auf dem 7- oder 8-stelligen Level sind. Guck dir die Speech an. Sie ist wirklich ziemlich inhaltsvoll. Das heißt, guck sie dir an. Es geht um Exzellenz in seinen Operations. Es geht um Direct Response, den neuen Trend, der 2024 nach Ewigkeiten mal endlich wieder da ist. Und dann geht es vor allem um die Absicherung vor Krisen und Cashbestände. Das heißt, kurzes Intro von mir. Viel Spaß beim Talk. What is up, guys? So, this is the Mastermind Exclusive talk from my side. And I'm going to talk about what's fucking relevant right now, scaling to 1 million per month with a nasty profit margin. Sadly, I couldn't make it to the event in person, so here's my presentation for all of guys. And what is the headline about? Well, times have changed. And you should strive for excellence in every aspect if you want to make it big. And I want to deliver you a reminder for excellence if you already are pushing a lot of volume. And if we break down ecom growth as a whole, it's a simple and straightforward equation for under the hood operations. Why should you listen to me? Well, my company Media is right now the biggest ecom growth partner in Germany, Switzerland and Austria. We push over 10 million ad spend per month and we produced over 1 billion in ecom revenue inside our portfolio companies in the last years. And lastly, because Carl and Ariane trust me, this is the biggest stamp of approval I think you can get in this space. So the value equation for ecom growth that we discovered is basically new customer acquisition times lifetime profit divided by risk. And let's break it down with a crystal clear focus on what this year is very needed for established business owners like are in this mastermind, so you can tackle all of the challenges that will be happening this year for your own business and reap the rewards over the next years. So if we dive into customer acquisition at first, we all know that we need ads to get customers for sure. And some of you might be successful with organic content machineries. This is cool too. But if you want to hit $1 million a month repeatedly, things have to change. And let's dive into the first point. Direct response is the old but new trend that we are seeing right now. We all do our UGC, our showcasing ads, and we are whitelisting ads with influencers. But since trust in the general population and buying power flattens and will continue to flatten as long as Trump isn't elected, the point that we're trying to maximize with direct transactional kind of marketing will rarely be enough to defend yourself against economic climate and rising competition and ad costs. And of course, we could blow up the volume. You should do that regardlessly. But marginal improvements aren't really what we are after. For sustained levels of high scale, we need to convert 2 times, 4 times, 10 times the amount of eyeballs that touch our ad placements to paying customers. This leads me to the question, how do we do it? We need to go after the unaware but theoretically qualified audiences for our products. In the transactional world, you basically do, I showcase my products in multiple different ways through funny clips of people, only to reach an audience that is already in the market for products. And if you are really good with it, you can even convert people sitting on the fences. But after all, there are 10 times the amount of people inside the platforms who could be a buyer in the long run. Leads me to the question, how do we do that? Well, by applying direct response long-form selling psychology that more often than not is used at lead gen or clickbank products without a strong brand behind them. Let's figure out what is needed for that, back to front. First of all, we need a code-friendly offer that is stacked to the brink with an immense amount of perceived value. Pre-offer, so before the people are reaching your code-friendly offer, we need a logical and emotional argument that revokes a response from out-market audiences that could technically be buyers but have no idea what they need for a product. And then we need a high amount of mass market traffic that contains our audience to educate them even further. Let's do that. First step. What is the domino belief that when this belief is realized, everything after it makes sense? It's Russell Brunson analogy. He basically coined the term domino belief, when he said, okay, people need to realize they need ClickFunnels. In order to realize they need ClickFunnels, they need to understand that the funnel is a new website that is needed right now. And the only way to build funnels is through ClickFunnels. So the dominant belief for Russell Brunson was funnels of the future. And you need to do that for your own product too. So, example, my product relieves back pain while driving a car through a pillow that you put under your ass. Prospects thereby need to realize that there is a better way to sit in a car than just sitting on the driving seat. Prospects also need to realize that not using your product puts them in a big disadvantage in general, and their life will for sure be better once they start sitting on the product. My educational content therefore needs to make sure that back pain is a creeping death for your future, even if you right now don't have it yet. By realizing this, you are at a huge advantage in comparison to anyone else. Prospects then need to realize that the only solution that is guaranteed to give them the best bang for your buck is your product, and then lastly, that there is no way around your product. What is the difference compared to traditional direct-to-consumer ads? Your focus on people that already have back pain or are in direct contact with people who are back pain basically is kept. So people who are using different products like barefoot shoes or massages to relieve pain are your ideal audience, and then you try to hammer them over the head with repeated exposure in different forms like trust, social proof, UGC, showcasing ads, showing the quality, showing other people using your products. You try to hammer that over their head. And maybe you're already seeing that the latter approach is fatiguing at scale because there are only so many people inside the pod, and you want to really tap into an audience that is not marketed to by anyone else. And even though you still need to do that, the traditional direct-to-consumer ads, you still need to layer a direct response strategy on top of it to really reach consistent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million a month revenue levels. So let's get it rolling. How to craft a video ad that contains an argument in a VSL format. So basically it's a longer video ad with an actor or founder for the highest probability of success route, or you can do a voiceover for an easier starting point that actually delivers the education that is needed. A script I would advise for that is you start with a hard call out. And example for that, even if you don't have back pain right now, your spine is suffering. Then you need to relieve objections because you gave them a very, very hard claim and call out. Now you might be thinking, oh, I don't have back pain right now and I'm feeling fine. Well, you aren't. 1,000 people thought this before. I have the proof against it. Then you need to make a logical bridge because you need to address that people now are confused. I like to start with the sentence, let me explain, to make them to bring them in a state that they're now ready for consuming your education. You then deliver 3 key points on what they need to realize to become a buyer. I would start with facts. The average spine on a normal desk job takes 10 times the amount of beating than compared to 100 years ago working in a coal mine. You can then explain this with 2 to 3 sentences and some studies. Then you need to address some suspicion. And no one tells you about it because it's lucrative to have your spine deteriorate. You then need to explain this and why driving cars is destroying them, basically implanting the domino belief. Then you introduce the solution. I have this problem too, and my wife got me this. It's not only working, but it's verified across 1,000 brands and recognized by mainstream media. So you then even can market or like mention that other people are trying to solve the problem too. And then you can really layer your mainstream media that covered your brands on top of it to make it more, you make it more solid in the argument. And then you wrap it up in a short but brief call to action to check out the next page because you don't want to sell inside the VSL. You might be having a lot of questions right now, and I can't explain everything inside this video. So click on the link and check out the next page. So you then get a very qualified click onto your next page. The next page should at first be a product page. You can duplicate your winning product page and splice it with the elements of the ad above. Once you see it converting, write an editorial that goes more in depth and make it look like a news article. Carl already made an awesome landing page breakdown on his YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure he was touching that in this mastermind too. And once you see that converting, you transpose the editorial into a longer VSL that delivers easier to digest insights, but because a lot of people are more inclined to watch a video that contains the argument than reading a news article about it. After the product page, you have the offer page, or like the offer at the bottom of your page. You totally should use Hormozis value equation as hard as possible to make the buying decision an absolute no-brainer, and Carl has some awesome content around that too. Then metrics, because you have to look at how this stuff converts. You split the metrics between direct-to-consumer ads and direct response assets inside your tracking sheets. You watch your overall marketing efficiency ratio, because the one side will definitely reap the rewards of educating more people. And you then don't neglect one of both sides, because you need to push them next to each other. In short, you maximize direct conversion classic ads, and then you ramp up educational-based direct response ads, and you plug them into your creative process, so that you not only need to test your 10 to 20 creatives every couple of weeks, but you also need to split test VSLs and arguments on the educational-based side. So once you have that in place, so you basically established a direct response approach next to your direct-to-consumer approach, you then should totally focus on your lifetime profit. And the lifetime profit basically is something that we discovered in our portfolio brands over the last couple of months, where everyone says the customer lifetime value is important. And I think this is a total scam. Because who cares about the theoretical value over 5 years when you need the money in the next shitty month, or you need to order your next supply? For me, it's all about customer lifetime profit in the shortest amount of time possible. And in order to establish a prioritization of that, we need to achieve a superior back-end sales mechanism that is not only, hey, you can buy another unit right now, because then you are pretty much capped by people who just want to buy another unit right now. So in an ideal world, you strive for establishing either a subscription-based backend model that is actually useful, thinking about supplements or consumables, or you do everything in your power to understand the typical post-buyer journey more and more. So people buy because they have an untouched need, a need that is not really covered right now. And the need, just imagine back pain or something like that, is still there after they buy your product, because the problem is bigger than your product can deliver. Because most of the time they're just buying a patch for their bleeding wound, and the patch is not really alleviating the destructive behavior that led up to the wound. And even if you solve the problem at first, because you're selling whey protein that covers protein requirements, they still are active in a vertical, like going to the gym. So you need to understand the deeper needs after solving the first one. And there is literally no one size fits all solution to that. Sadly, I can't deliver it right now. But if you look at retention as a main function, how to run your business, retention basically means actually understanding what the customer tries to solve, then delivering it in an excellent way. You then uncover more needs for your products afterwards, and you need to include some education via your email or your sales team to make them realize they have different needs, and then never let them out of your ecosystem. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're selling barefoot shoes, and your audience is buying barefoot shoes because they want to do something for their joints and their back, because they're walking around nature. Well, of course, they are buying your barefoot shoes, and if your product is great, they might be buying another pair. But if they are pretty active hikers, they have other needs in the hiking niche. So you could think about what are the problems after them walking around in nature and not having their feet hurt. Maybe they need a backpack that is more comfortable to wear, or they need a jacket because it's very cold hiking, or they need to have some stretching bands afterwards, and you need to make sure that they understand that they should stretch before hiking. So you need to really unfold what is covered inside the vertical, and you have to unfold what is actually delivering the pain, what they were looking for solving with the patch that is your first product to buy. So once you have customer acquisition nailed, I would totally go into talks with my customers, talk to them, send them surveys, call them, talk to them one-on-one, go to expos and talk to them, to really discover the next need afterwards once they are in the vertical. And if you uncover a need, you transcend from the traditional transactional thinking of they have this pain, I alleviate the pain, and then you transcend into owning an ecosystem inside the vertical that you can then cover more and more, because if they are satisfied with your first product, the trust is way higher than compared to people who are only selling the backpack for hitchhikers or something like that. So this is basically what I would totally spend a lot of my time on when we scale companies from one product to multiple products. I don't want to offer a similar product in different fashion. I want to really get into the ecosystem of why they're solving the product and then build a brand that is way superior in covering the needs of the vertical that you're in. And then you have a big advantage over everyone else because you already have a tight grip on your audience inside the vertical. So retention, no one size fits all solution. You really need to understand your customers to develop new products. And if you do direct transactional, direct to consumer ads, and then also some direct response ads, you should be having a lot of profit to pour into the research and development. So once you have the two layers of the equation covered, so new customer acquisition and lifetime profit, you should focus totally on the risk, because you can push them as high as you want. If the risk is very high, the stuff that comes out of the equation is still pretty low. So you have to focus on what decimizes your value. And let's cover risk here. You know why risk is the deciding factor when valuing a company? Because the value of a company derives from the confidence you have to make a solid prediction for the future. And since we can't see into the future, we have to have confidence in predicting the future, so our hopes are high in a realistic way. And if you like your own mental sanity, it should be mandatory for you to have a solid prediction for your own future too, and not only when trying to sell your company, which is just a 1 out of 50 people who can actually pull off to sell a company. So you should be thinking of, how do I sell the company to myself in order to have the highest prediction with the most confidence for my future and the future cash flows that I can be reaping from the company. And by nature, the ecom business model is risky as fuck. And as a founder, once new customer acquisition is rolling, 50% of your time should be spent to mitigate risk. How do you mitigate risk? You bring your key functions in-house, because you don't want to be reliant on external partners that you can't control. So I would totally be thinking about, how can I bring my creative system in-house? How can I bring my media buying in-house? How can I bring my supply chain in-house? How can I bring the research and development of the products in-house? These are questions that rarely are asked on the ecom side. And if you can make a conscious choice in asking yourself these questions, you will be of a big advantage this year. So key functions in-house for sure. Then diversify your traffic channels to not be reliant on only one traffic channel, because we all know the elections are coming up, then Facebook will be pretty strict. The performance will of course dip. Then you want to be in place on Google. I mean, Ariane already told something awesome about Google, I'm pretty sure. You need to be on native ads, you need to be on TikTok ads if it's suiting your company. You just don't want to be caught with your pants pulled to the knees once the tides go out. And I would make a conscious choice in, even if your main traffic channel is crushing, bring in a second or a third traffic channel. Then you should invest in research and development to get a moat around your products. Ecom is a nasty business model where you get copied left and right. So if you can evolve your product in a way that it can't be that easily copied, that's a pretty good plus for your future. And then you should be very conservative with the war chest of cash you're building. What do I mean by that? We see a lot of ecom founders struggling with cash flow. And you can be the smartest Excel sheet ninja, but your planning can only be so great like you can sustain downtimes. And I would totally try to avoid spending money out of your ecom business before you reach a critical mass where you can easily pay yourself a 7-figure salary every year, in order to have more cash inside the company to actually be prepared when the shit hits the fan. So be conservative. Don't buy 10 different watches for gray market prices because they're overvalued right now. I would totally think about how can I keep money inside the company and be prepared for difficult times. And once you have that solved, I would make a conscious choice in investing in private wealth vehicles, because most of the decisions that are driven out of fear inside the business are not only because business is at risk, because you are thinking for your own future and how you can make your own security a priority. And if you take a big dividend out of the business every year in a way that it's not hurting the company, and you invest it on a private side, you can have way bigger balls doing riskier moves on your business side. So I would say the first 1 or 2 years should be totally spent building the business war chest, and then you have to take some chips off the table and invest in private wealth vehicles to not be irrational when bills are hitting, you need to move to a different place, you don't want to turn down crank down on ad spend or stuff like that because you need money. You should make decisions to build private wealth once times are great in a way that is still conservative to the business. And if you put everything inside there together, you will have an awesome play for the next couple of months, because you should maximize your transactional direct-to-consumer e-com stuff. This is what this is all about. This is the creative hacks that you heard. This is the Google ads that you heard. This is the CRO that you heard. You should maximize everything as much as possible. Then you need to enter a new realm where you are marketing to people who are not inside your ideal audience. So you need to do mass market education in order to convince more people outside of your typical market to become buyers in the next future. And by doing that, you will reap the rewards of bringing new people inside the market that are not marketed to from other companies. So direct response for sure. Then you need to focus on lifetime profit by doing retention like your life depends on it. And I really, really like the approach of really understanding your customer and owning the ecosystem that is behind the product. And if you manage to pull that off, you will have a big moat around the business. And then the next challenge is mitigating risk by bringing key functions in-house, by diversifying your traffic channels onto multiple channels, and then being very conservative with your cash on the business side. And then at certain checkpoints, take some chips off the table and invest in your private wealth building to not be irrational in your business. So these are a lot of topics. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a deep dive with Carl in person on his YouTube channel soon, but I wanted to give you like the insights that I was planning to talk about at the Mastermind. And if you have any questions, let me know. I would be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great time in Dubai still. Take care.